move on to the question and answers and political or panel discussion, inshallah, Brother Nasser, I think, had prepared something, inshallah, for the open mic. If anybody else suddenly got inspired or had a piece they wanted to recite or say a few words, inshallah, just please let me know and we'll set it up.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الواحد الأحد الذي لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له صاحبة ولا ولد والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده رسول الله محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وصحبه الميامين. قال الله تعالى في محكم كتابه المجيد في سورة الشعراء: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم والشعراء يتبعهم الغاوون ألم تر أنهم في كل واد يهيمون وأنهم يقولون ما لا يفعلون إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وذكروا الله كثيرا وانتصروا من بعد ما ظلموا وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran said that as for poets, the erring follow them. Have you not seen how they stray in every valley, and how they say that which they do not do? Save those who believe and do good workers, and remember Allah much, and vindicate themselves after they have been wronged. Those who do wrong will come to know by what a great reverse they will be overtaken. I would like first of all to thank everybody who came here, especially the organizer and our brothers. I liked a lot their job. They do a great job. I like them, and hopefully inshallah we will have more. I consider them very good models for very good believer poets, inshallah. Hopefully we can have them in the Arabic. Have example like them in the Arabic world, inshallah. I would like in this short speech to emphasize that Prophet Muhammad salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, he is the first man in this life who started revolution or he started uprising. There is no prophet before Prophet Muhammad started revolutions, not in his way. He started peacefully. He used all the vocabulary they are using nowadays, how a good revolution can be good or not. So Prophet Muhammad is a very good example. Nowadays, if the poets will help us to take humankind from this situation to live as a human, not to live as a slave. We want our poets to help us to fight a dictatorship, to fight poverty, to fight discrimination. And we say in Arabic that إِنَّ مِنَ الْبَيَانِ لَسِحْرًا. So from what you say is sometimes like magic. You can't change a lot of things by just saying. I always talk to my friend, for example, the Christian or the Jewish. I told them, okay, the minimum requirement for me is just to talk. If I can do it, to fix the problem in every way, in my lab, in my house, in my car with my friend. I told them, if the Prophet Jesus, peace be upon him, he didn't speak, you won't be a Christian, I will not be a Muslim. And that's it. So speaking is very important. But we need the good people who lead us in such a way that we can be a good revolutionist, to seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to approach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And again, I would like to thank all the poets, and what I see from what they are saying, they are very good example. So I don't want to repeat what I'm saying again. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Brother Nasser, for that enlightening and very inspiring words. Obviously, Brother Brother Nasser is a very active member in our community here in Sacramento and Davis, and we value his input, of course. So, inshallah, we're going to head on to the question and answers portion of the program. And just another quick announcement, reminder about the things on the table back there. And as people are exiting towards the end of the program, we have a sign-up sheet that if you want to stay in contact with us about future events that we're going to be holding here at UC Davis. We just started a new organization, and inshallah this will be the first of many events, politically, culturally, Islamic, spiritually aware programs that we're going to be having. So, inshallah, towards the end, one of the brothers will come down and make a quick announcement about this new organization, this club here at UC Davis. But be sure to sign up, leave your email address, let us know if you want to receive updates or not. You can leave your phone number if you don't want to email, or leave your email if you don't want to leave your phone number, however you prefer to be contacted. So, inshallah, I'd like to open up the floor to members of the audience. If they have questions directed towards either of our two performers here, and inshallah, if people can feel free to write them down and just go ahead and stand up and have a speak. We have a brother here. Go ahead.
Hi, brother. Thank you very much for all this work and coming here for all the way. My question was, we see a lot of work from you, and it's very creative in a different way. Could you tell us how you take this work you have in your community? Tell us a little bit about your community and tell us how you make this work influence and bring the Islam in the UK.
Yeah, please, actually, yes. I'm going to step to the mic. Or good.
Well, that's an interesting question because I consider the Davis community one of my communities because I was here for 4 years as a grad student, and people in Sacramento know, right? You know, those of you that remember, where's Brother Uzbek? Oh, mashallah. Yeah, you remember, right? Mashallah. And I want to point out Uzbek, mashallah, because I remember him when he was a little kid, man, mashallah, and he's like, I'm graduating, Allahu Akbar. So it's a long time ago, but I consider this one of my communities as well. I'm right out in the Bay Area. Yeah. So alhamdulillah, it's interesting. I had a mixed reception. To be honest with you, the centers out here in Sacramento in this area were more receptive to this kind of stuff, this kind of performances. I've had kind of a wall down there in the Bay Area with a couple centers, but there are some places that are more receptive. As far as progress with my neighbors and people that I interact with, alhamdulillah, when this album first came out, you know, I was a little. I didn't know, how it would be received because it was my first solo project ever. And mashallah, the thing that really made me feel good about it was that mashallah, there was a brother, his name is Stephen, who lived out in Fremont, and is really interested. I mean, I guess he already was interested in Islam, and I take no credit for this. All praise is due to Allah. But we had given him the CD, and 2 days later he took Shahada, and he said, alhamdulillah, there was something about like the ideas put together in that form that were easier for him than to reading a book, And then following that, I had people coming up to me talking about, hey, so what can I get that book from Ali Shariati? I said, what do you mean, Ali? How do you know Ali Shariati? He said, yo, I got a song called Fatima. It's from, and I Googled it and I found Ali Shariati's book. So, okay. Or like something else. And all these different references from people from overseas and things like that. And that's been really good, being able to have that dialogue with non-Muslims who normally would have just heard negative things about Islam from television, as unfortunately we have to constantly hear. And music sometimes is music and poetry is a little softer language for the people than and asking them to read a book. Hey, here's a book, read this. So alhamdulillah, it helps them go towards books and inshallah.
Do you have this gathering on a regular basis in the area?
I have little things like, I do like little poetry things. I personally don't go to any place that has serves alcohol. So right now, but I'm going to say that because that's where a lot of people go to venues. So if cafes and things of this nature and centers, I try as often as possible.
I'm saying, like, my daughter lives in the area.
Alhamdulillah.
Maybe if it's the case, I would like to go and bring her to these.
Inshallah.
So do you have to Do you have a regular meeting?
Yeah, I'm always posting things for myself on Facebook, and always posting events, what's coming up. And if you join on the Professor Air Live page there, constantly putting information there. Yeah, inshallah. I know you want to answer that too.
I'm from Boston, Mass. Unfortunately, sometimes the reception that you get from the Muslim community is lukewarm in Boston. But a lot of that has to do with my own, am I able to be heard on this? A lot of that has to do with my own kind of, for lack of a better word, shyness. Because I know, obviously in terms of Islamic fiqh, you know, go into these venues, and you know, I guess what I tell myself, I go into these venues sometimes to perform. Allah, you know, Allah knows best, but you know, I'm hoping that it's for Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar. I'm enjoying the good, forbidding the evil, and then I'm ghost. I'm out of there once the show's over. But anyhow, we're performing in front of lots of non-Muslims. I'm actually more comfortable performing in front of non-Muslims than I am in front of performing in front of Muslims. Because due to cultural reasons, I'm thinking if you come from Iran or Iraq, you might not, you know, you might listen to the way I speak with my Boston accent and move my hands too much when I speak and be turned off by me. But we've gotten all kinds of, we've gotten real open-minded people who love it regardless of the religion. Occasionally, you'll get a hateful comment. You know, we got lots of videos up on YouTube and on blog sites. And yeah, occasionally, but that's, you know, that's a drop in the ocean. For the most part, the people who like the music, and God willing, they benefit from it. But that's a challenge, you know what I mean? But to me, it's just symbolic of being a Muslim in a non-Muslim country. So, you know, they might hate on your music, but they also might just hate on you, period. You know, you could be working at 7-Eleven and they hate you. Doesn't mean you're not going to go to work every day. You know what I mean? So that's just, but it is something to deal with. It's definitely in the way we word things, you have to be extra careful. Because we don't want to be interpreted as being violent or being you know, prejudiced. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that is one of the challenges. And a very good question.
One of the things that's really interesting, you said, talking, you mentioned your more technique as someone that you listen to and it has an impact. And that's something that I noticed about myself that I had forgotten for a while. First became Muslim, you know, you go through a period of self-discovery. I think you talked about it, you know, you start wearing the different outfits in different cultures. You know, I had my Pakistani fits, you know, my Arab fits and everything. And you used to wear those things, and, you know, and you go, and because you're trying to find your identity, you know, and you accept this, you know, large spiritual piece of your life, you know, and so it's a significant change. But over the time, you kind of balance it with yourself. You're trying to, you know, balance that identity with your own cultural context in which you're grown. And over that time, you know, being in the world of academia a little bit, you know, I gave a lot of speeches and lectures. You know, brothers know, you know, especially when I was in this area, you know, volunteer my time and Friday nights, Thursday night, giving speeches. And I noticed that something interesting about that. When I was giving these speeches, I wasn't talking to anyone that didn't know what I was saying. Right? You know what I mean? Like I was talking to a Muslim audience, and I had something to share about this identity that I embraced, that I wanted to help refute the things that were coming out of the television, that were coming out of the radio. And that was really bothering me, because I felt prey to that growing up. Like I said, I disliked Muslims. I had admiration for Islam as a religion. I disliked Muslims. I disliked the news that I saw. You know, every time I turned on television, I mean, you know, every movie you saw, you know, it was like Arnold Schwarzenegger was rolling up 20 Muslims. You know what I mean? And then it was like a hero. You know, like, oh, I'm going to play this time. You know what I mean? And so it was that kind of mentality that you grew up with. But the phenomenal thing that happened with music, though, shifting over, realizing that, and you know, I've always been, you know, writing poetry ever since, you know, those, you know, emulating Shafi'i, emulating these people, poetry and performing, little mixtape here, a little thing there, walking away from it because you didn't know if it was right or wrong, coming back to it, walking away from it, and coming back to it, fully realizing that, hey, my audience, my goal was my audience are my people, i.e. the people I live around, Muslim and non-Muslim. And one of the things that happened is the connections, the phenomenal connections we make. I didn't realize that, you know, you told me like 2-3 months ago, hey, who you think your audience is. I didn't really know who my audience for music was. I'm not a businessman. It's not a goal to make money necessarily off the music. Love to be nice to, be able to continue doing it. And who am I marketing to and all that kind of stuff. People ask me this question all the time. I said, I don't know. But, so one of the people, one of my friends was like, hey, you should do a fundraiser if you really want to do a new album. And I was like, yeah, I can't do a new album without a fundraiser. So I did an online fundraiser. And I was astonished. There was definitely some wonderful brothers and sisters that I knew the Muslim community stepped forward. But the majority of the people who look at the fundraiser are all non-Muslims. And I didn't realize. I was shocked. I was really humbled by that experience. You know what I mean? It was like little donations from a high school kid giving $10 to $20. You know what I mean? There's little donations, and it was like it really touched my heart knowing that we made these profound connections with people who connected with it in spite of. You think that you have some Islamic references in your music, but yet they connected with it, and it's great dialogue. And I was like, yeah, okay, hopefully we're counteracting all the negativity in that process. So it was, God knows.
Very good. Yeah, we have time for a few more questions. We're trying to wrap up by 7 o'clock. So is any other? Yes, sir.
Brother, you mentioned the experiment you did for fundraising, so there was a lot of non-Muslims who had interest. So did you want that to see if were they just, did anything come out of that, or?
Yeah, we raised $5,000, and it's basically paid for half of the new album. So it's a new album that's coming out in May 12th. It's done. It's submitted. I'm just waiting to May 12th to kind of release some videos and put out some more written work out there so that people can get familiar with it before it comes out. But it's he's been listening to it in the car around all the way, good or bad. And he's also on one of the tracks. But it wouldn't happen. I mean, I had all this work, and I was telling Hakeem, we talked occasionally. I was like, Hakeem, the last album was the last album. I'm not going to do this anymore because I can't justify. You have a daughter growing up. You can't. You gotta. I got a mortgage, but you know what? I'm going to do this album instead. So it doesn't work that way. And since it's a community project, I'm offering it for free. People suggested doing a fundraiser, and it came together.
Did you get any input to see people being curious about Islamic as a vendor, or because they were just interested because it was just hip hop?
Oh, absolutely. I get questions all the time about Islam because of the albums and the songs. Growing up to me, it's kind of humbling and then actually kind of be worried because my lyrics can be taken this way, that way. People ask me, what do you mean by this lyric in this song? What do you mean by this? What do you mean by that? Or question people always ask me, what does AOI stand for? And answer those questions and having a dialogue with people. So it's really interesting. And I only hope that it continues and grows because of the opportunities out there.
Just to add on, oftentimes the people who ask questions who get extremely curious, oftentimes they're the ones who you least expect. And they're the ones who email you. So
I have a question. So what advice would you give to our community here in Sacramento and Davis as far as being involved with different aspects of culture that may differ from what's normally seen in the masjids and the Islamic community that people may have not tapped into yet? Because just as one example, whenever you go to the masjid and you meet Muslims, they're either an engineer, a doctor, or a businessman. These are the three official Muslim professions, right? All three. Yeah, or all three at once. So, what advice would you give, especially for your younger brothers and sisters who are studying and getting into their respective careers right now, as far as exploring other aspects of spreading their faith and expressing their faith?
I think for a second generation immigrant, or the children of an immigrant who know the vernacular of America, I think it is easier for them. In terms of what you're going to do in the office and your marriage job, I want to know. If I want, what I mean? Because I'm one of them. But, I think just being somewhat knowledgeable about Islam. Because people are going to ask good questions. And that might stump you. You might think you know a lot about your deen, and somebody will ask you a good question, you're going to say, I don't know. I'll find out for you. So, but be open about it. Don't, and also, one thing that I like to bring up to young people who don't have a career yet is human services. It's not well paid, but that's what I've been doing for half a decade now. Working in group homes, seeing, that's the Mustafa, that's the oppressed. These are the children of single parents. These are the people who have just, remarkably terrible, backgrounds, family backgrounds, what have you. Work with the people, because those are the people who are going to come to Islam. Most of the time, they're going to be there much of it. Don't just go to one group of people. I'm going to go to university tonight. You go to everybody. And as I say, the people who take interest of it will be surprised. I'm not sure if I'm answering you. I feel like it needs to be answered.
This room is a little bit, it's set up in a way that might belie some significance in that everyone in this room has an interesting story to share, in spite of the fact that the lights are on this side. And I really mean that. Every single person in this room has a beautiful story to share. A beautiful story of struggles, a beautiful story of struggles that have been overcome, and things that have happened in your life. And oftentimes, we tend to hold on to those stories, and we don't share them. We share them only with close friends, so on and so forth. But it's those stories, that human connection that connects people together. If that Pakistani brother many years ago wasn't open with me, didn't open up to me, I would never have taken that Quran from him, and I wouldn't have had that experience with him. But he was real. He was authentic. He was in his voice, and he stayed true to who he was. And I would encourage Muslims, I'm not saying don't pursue your profession. I think you should do that too. You certainly have to pay the bills and so on and so forth if you decide to do that. But if you are inclined to any sort of expressiveness, whether it be through poetry, writing, artistic, video, whatever you can think of, sculpture, whatever it is that you're inclined to, keeping in mind certainly your spirituality always, the limitations and things of this nature. I would say pursue that as well if you can, if at all possible. Oftentimes people think they're mutually exclusive. You can't do both. But I think one can help the other. Being an engineer may help you finance your artistic inclination, which may help put your story, your authentic voice out there, whatever that is, in whatever form that is, and help you connect with people in a way you should. The more connection people have with each other, real connection, not that online, like I like this connection, but real connection that people make with each other, and the voices that we hear, the exchanges that we have, that connectivity is ultimately what's going to have a profound impact and bring people closer together. And that spiritual, I'll use the word spiritual essence, but it's been that spiritual essence of individuals closer together. It's very important.
Okay, so we have one last question. Go ahead, brother.
Have you ever been confronted with a critic or audience member who thinks what you're doing is against Islam or haram, and what's your response?
Yeah, we can have a whole show on that question, right?
There was a piece I recited called Dead End Sea. Superstitious victims of false religion and spiritualists in prisons and subliminal prisons. I'm not with extremists polarized in decisions. I'm in a great prison with the wisdom of one who's risen. And I was dedicating those lines to people that come from either side, who try to say, "Oh, this is bad, or this is good." Ultimately, Islam is the middle path. In life, you should walk the middle path, the path of balance, stay spiritually balanced. And that's a criticism I've heard since day one. A lot of people don't know this story. Hakeem does, and I think Yusuf might have heard it from Brother Hashim. But there was a moment in my life when I was 18, took Shahada. At 19, also by 19 years old, I probably I say that, but, well, at least from people I knew, I had one of the most phenomenal hip hop CD collections at that time. Like every single CD that was out, I had it, you know, and I used to listen. You know what I mean? It was the music, and then I started following a certain type of thinking in Islam, and you know, for me, the spirituality was very important. I was being told by these people that music was haram, completely wrong, and everything, and I said, you know what? I threw everything away. I said, class, that's it, no more. And then listen to music, and I'm talking about, I got to the point, like, I would walk into places where music was playing, I wouldn't go there, you know what I mean? So not even, you know, background music, elevator music, I take the stairs instead of taking the elevator. Hold on. And so I used to do that for like 2 years. And then what ended up happening was I continued to study the religion and started studying the path. And instead of taking word of mouth service for individuals, studying and asking questions and realizing that everything everything has a role to play. It just depends on its content, and it's not a black and white question. You know what I mean? And the real test in life is navigating the gray. It's easy to make the world a black and white world. Everyone is bad here, everyone is good here. That's an easy world to live in. That's not the test of this life. The test of life is navigating the gray. And realize that in this gray area, what is allowed, what is not allowed, based on your understanding and based on your research, and that makes you an active participant in the test that life gives you. Otherwise, you try to skirt. And then once I realized that, I started to come back to it. And it was really scholars overseas. I was studying overseas, and Hakeem was with me on that journey. And so that's why he knows that I asked that question. And I remember we were in the room and I asked that question, and I said, well, is music wrong? I said that, and there was that scholar that sang that song, and then when he sang to us, it was just, this Ayatollah, he was singing this song, and I was like, I was shocked. And he explained to us, and then I started thinking, and then from there, when I came back, then I approached it. So when people criticize me now, if they had criticized me earlier, to answer your question, I'm sorry to kind of ramble on a little bit, but people criticize me now, it doesn't bother me because I've been through that journey and there's questions. And I say, mashallah, thank you for your opinion, brother. We're our sister, we try to do the best that we can, and you certainly, I'm just on my journey. You're on your journey. No judgment. But in the early days, if people had questioned me, I would have certainly folded, I think, because I was so young and I didn't know, and I had done my own research at the time. So I don't know if that answers your question. I'll pass it to my eyes. I know he has issues with this all the time.
Yeah, 2 minutes. So good. I feel like what he said was on point. It's not everything is black and white. It's a gray matter. Even within the deen, it's a gray matter, depending on. Again, this could lead to a 3-hour discussion on taqleed and who's your marja. That's a great one. You know what I mean? But we won't take it there. We just say that we feel justified based on certain scholarly opinions. But Allah knows best. Allah knows our intentions, and Allah knows best. And this brother who recited the verse from Quran about the poets, I wasn't sure when he started recording the ayahs. I wasn't sure because he was talking about because the ayahs refer to poets who lead people astray, but it also differentiates between those who do fear Allah, those who do trust Allah. And the Prophet ﷺ had poets as companions, Hassan ibn Thabit and a few others. And are we putting ourselves in that category? Of course not. But we usually say that based on certain scholarly opinion that we feel comfortable with, we make our best effort to pursue this. But again, it's such a beat to death topic that we just kind of shrug our shoulders and keep moving.
Questions you prefer to ask in person, feel free to stick around. And inshallah, Brother Hadi is here. He was going to say a few words about UC Davis, the organization Youth for Truth that was recently formed. And before we do that, extend a round of applause to
on behalf of the Youth for Truth group at UC Davis, I'd like to thank everybody, all the participants, everybody who made this event happen, And special thanks to our great performers, Brother Hakeem, and everybody who participated again. And let's thank our performers by a round of loud applause. So this is the first event for youth, for Thru, and we have more interesting events coming up, not as interesting as this one, but we have other interesting programs coming up. If you'd like to receive emails and notification, there's a sign-up sheet at the back. Please sign up your name and your email address, and if you'd like to join the group, there is actually a checkbox mark. You can check it and you can join our group. With that, I'll hand in the microphone to Brother Hakeem for closing remarks. Thank you.
So with that, everything has pretty much been said. I won't bore you with any of my own stories or observations. But inshallah, again, just want to thank everybody for coming out. Thank you everybody for opening their minds and their hearts. And inshallah, we're all part of this movement. We're all part of this this effort to establish an Islamic culture here in the United States that reaches all members of the society, because really the message in the end is that Islam is a message that deserves to be heard by everyone. So, inshallah, with that, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.